Okay.
Positive from yesterday. Hold on a second. Give it to Mom. Why am I not coming up with my notes? There we go. Okay, so yesterday, Daf Chof Beis. So it was Machlokes, what we learned out from the word oisoi, right? And then we said if there's a Machlokes, if you're allowed to get hanaah from the gid anosha. And we also said that the gid anosha might not be an issue only on kosher animals, but not on treif animals. That was a Machlokes. And then why we're allowed to have bhanaah from dam. That was Amud Aleph. Amud Beis was comparing blood to water. Why Chizkiah? What Chizkiah does with it? Then we said Abram and Achai. We had the kasha. Meaning we basically tonight we're finishing with 2 blocks straight of kashas on Rabavo's shita. That he says anytime it says achila, and issur of achila in the Torah, that means issur achila and issur hanaah. So we'll go through all these kashas. We have a bunch more tonight. Okay, there was a kasha from Abram and Achai, and then shor haniskal. And then we said the famous Gemara with Rabbi Kiva said shot and every S in the Torah. And then we did Orlah. And the Machlokes is whether a public tree has an issur of Orlah with it or not. Right? That's basically what we got up to. So now we're on Chaf Gimel Amud Aleph. Where is it? Varei Terumah. Okay, we'll try not to get sidetracked tonight, but the truth is maybe we should get sidetracked. There's some very interesting sugyas tonight. Yeah, I would say a famous Taz, but I don't want to get in trouble, so I'm not going to say. There's a major Taz based on tonight's Gemara and tonight's Tosfos. Okay, so Varei Terumah, 2, 4, 6, 8 lines down from the bottom, from the top. Right, so it says Varei Terumah, the Rachmana Amar. Right, so we all know what Terumah is. It goes to the Kohen. It says V'chol zar lo yachal kodesh. A zar, who's a Yisrael, meaning a Yisrael is a literal translation is stranger, cannot eat because it's kodesh. V'tanan ma'arvin l'nazir b'yayin Yisrael b'Terumah. As we had in Eruvin, that you're allowed to make an eruv for a nazir with wine, right? And Yisrael b'Terumah. Right. Remember, we're allowed to make an eruv tchum with wine. Now, should we try and venture to say why we're allowed to? Meaning, it has to be the eruv tchum has to be edible by the person who needs the eruv. So how can you make an eruv with yayin for a nazir? Right, because he could be mater neder. That's why. Right. And the Terumah the same thing. You can be mater neder on the Terumah, so that's why you're allowed to make an eruv. But either way, you see it's mutter bhanaah, right? If it would be assur bhanaah, you wouldn't be able to make an eruv with it. So, but it says lo yochel, which we said means that you're not allowed to get any hanaah from it. There it says it's your Terumah. What it means, it's Terumah that's going to be yours, right? So therefore, we say that it is mutter b'hanaah. V'idach. And what's the other shita going to say? Meaning Chizkiah, who doesn't need this because Chizkiah holds anytime it says lo seichel, lo yochel, does not assur b'hanaah. So why does it say Terumah? So it means Terumah d'chol Yisrael kama. It's just like a way of talking, but it means the Terumah of everybody in Klal Yisrael. Doesn't mean that doesn't mean to say that it's your Terumah. Fine. So that's that. Then it says Varei Nazir.
So it is mutter b'hanaah Terumah?
Terumah is mutter b'hanaah, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, at least to make an eruv, right?
But what he has einichluch, then his daughter's married to a Kohen. Can he give? So if he gives them the Terumah, then he's getting hanaah. This way, he has to give money to his son-in-law and daughter. So if he gives them the Terumah, he gives them less money out of his pocket.
Right. Yeah. No. Hanami. That's that would be allowed. Yeah. See, with Tosfos, good. Thank you for reminding me. This The second Tosfos down, he brings a different shot. That why are you allowed to? It's because mitzvahs, since Eruv Tchum can only be made with bar mitzvah, we know mitzvahs lav lahanas nitlu, right? So that's why. I'm sorry, no, that should be a kasha here, but the Gemara doesn't ask it. That should really be a kasha. Because what do you mean? That's not called hanaah. Right? Making an Eruv is not called hanaah. Right? Okay, whatever it is. Let's see weiter. What do we up to? Lost the place. Alright, nazir. Yeah, now we're up to nazir. Alright, nazir the Rahman chatzana b'hadzag.
You know, it really could be hanaah that you're making an Erev. So I have more space to go Shabbos. I have where I could go visit my Aunt Tilly.
But that's because it's a mitzvah to do that.
And go to a kiddush.
Oh, I don't know if it's a mitzvah to do that. That one of them. You were doing well in the first part.
Okay.
But I guess it is a mitzvah new to be marbereus.
Yeah.
Is it the outcome of the mitzvah or it's the mitzvah itself?
I'm just saying you could find a reason to make it into a mitzvah.
I'm saying which
Right.
mitzvahs have hanaah? You're talking about?
No, I'm saying he makes an Erev there with the nazir, makes an Erev with the iron. He's having hanaah, right?
Right.
So good, because
no,
now he can go visit.
The Gemara is not asking here. The Gemara doesn't choose to ask here. What do you mean? What kind of hanaah is that? Mitzvah slav lahanas nidu, and the only reason you're allowed to make the Erev. Yeah, that's where you have to throw into that. But that's where you get into the whole situation. What's a mitzvah for one person might not be a mitzvah for another person. Right? Yeah. Okay, very good. Okay, so Varei Nazir. But what about a Nazir? The Rahman
Your wife's visiting her mother and you're visiting your shviga, right? So
that might be Lifnei Iver from yesterday's daf, but okay. Yeah, so okay, Varei Nazir, right? Nazir, the Rahman Mechatzanim v'Hadzag lo yochel. From the pits to the what's it called? The skins to the pits. You're not allowed to eat it. So that's a lashon of lo yochel, which means it should be also bhanaah according to Rabbi Over Tanan. Marvin the nazir yayin, you're allowed to make an eruv for a nazir with yayin. Right? Same kasha as we had before. Before it was from Terumah, now we're asking from nazir. So it says nizroi with a vav. Shaloyehe, that it should be his. Right? It says he should be Kaddish and he should grow his hair long. Yeah? Kaddish. His hair is Kaddish, nothing else is Kaddish. Right? And therefore, so that's why wine is mutter for him to get hanaah from. So I think what I asked, does it say ve'ein davar acher? Doesn't say ve'ein davar acher, it just says his hair is Kaddish. So then it's clear that we're going to go with Marzutra's pshat, that it's go Marzutra's pshat, the first pshat, that it says nizroi, so it means it's his nazira, so that tells you that he is it's both the bhanaah.
What about Chizkiah?
Oh, so I don't know why the Gemara is not asking Chizkiah here, right? I mean, the Tosfos says it, but Tosfos asks it, right? Yeah, but he says Tosfos doesn't answer it. It says Taimah leChizkiah nizroi l'may also, right?
I don't know if it's helpful or not. There's an art scroll note on it, but I don't have the art scroll. But I just happened to have browsed it earlier. That's all.
Yeah.
Somebody has one. They can look inside, but then see further.
Okay.
It says the Rishonim discuss it. That's all it says.
All right.
It says that the Rishonim ask the question and discuss it.
Okay. So Tosfos doesn't really give an answer, right? He says this svarim. The guys that there are some svarim that say nizro is megaleach, meinu megaleach al nazirus aviv. Okay, whatever it is, but yeah, that's a good question. Fine. Varei Chadash, right? But it says Chadash. Now Chadash is the new grain. The new grain, we had this a couple times, right? The new grain, anything that grows from after Pesach is not mutter to eat until the next Pesach. Anything that was planted after Pesach, right? Throughout the entire year is not allowed to be eaten until they bring the korban omer on the second day of Pesach, right? So what about Chadash? The Rahman Amar Lechem v'Koli v'Karmel Lo Yisaychlo Anetzam Yom Hazeh. You can't eat You can't eat any of the products from it. It says loy seichlu. You are allowed to cut it down and for food, pet food, or for animal food. So you see that it's mutar b'hanaah, even though it says a lashon of loy seichel or loy seichlu. So Rav Shmaya Shani Asim Damar Kro Kitzirchem. No, it says Kitzirchem, your Kitzir, Kitzirchem Shalachem Yehei. It should be your Kitzira. The Idach Kitzirchem Dechal Yisrael Mashma. Again, the same terms we said before. When it says Kitzirchem, it just means the Kitzira of Klal Yisrael. Yeah, fine. So that's that similar shagotay. Now the most interesting one of the night is this next one. Vare shratzim. Now sheretz, which we had in the last parak a lot of shratzim. The Rachman Amar sheketz hu lo yachal. It's sheketz. It's bad, disgusting. You shouldn't eat it. For Tanan, so yadi chayav oifus, trappers, hunters that hunt birds and wild animals with dogim and fish and as damla and minion tameim. So they're obviously hunting kosher food, kosher meats, right? Because that's how they make their living. But what happens if they ended up getting a treif one, right? They're allowed to sell it to a guy. Okay, so now what should be the problem, right? Meaning, if you said the problem should be that it should be assur b'hanaah because it says lo yochel. Elamai, the Gemara is saying it's mutar b'hanaah. Yeah. So shani hasam damar kro lochem shalachem yehei. It should be, it's yours. So it's a sheketz, right? They're disgusting the shratzim, but it's yours. So if that's the case, so then even lechatchila, meaning why is it saying if they captured treif animals, then they're allowed to sell it? Why can't they go trapping for treif animals in the first place to sell it? If it says shalachem, shani hachu say no. Here's different. Damar kro yiyu b'haviyasan yehu. That they're going be you means they're going to be yours b'haviyasan yehu. The way if they happen to come to you, then they're yours. But you're not allowed to go out and trap them. Okay, so let's just finish one and then we'll get back to this. So Chizkiah lamali lemichtav la yochel ma'isi lachem lemishaya. Right, Chizkiah. Why does it have to say la yochel and then bring lachem to mata you? La lichtav rachman la yochel v'la bay lachem. Just don't write la yochel, then I don't need lachem. So la Chizkiah time to dinam mehacha. No, I prove my point from this Gemara that it says la yochel. Yet the Torah, it says la yochel. And it says lochem anyways. So therefore, you see that la yochel clearly is not coming for what R Avahu was saying, right? Yeah. So that's okay. Should we be on that?
Lamaisa, you're not allowed to use sherets for bait when you're fishing or something like that.
Oh, so good. So we'll get to that, right? So one second, we'll get to that in a minute.
That's the Taz you were talking about?
No, yeah, I'm gonna get to it. Yeah, we'll get to it. I just want to make sure I said shot over in this Chizkiah, right?
A fish tank.
Oh, so one second. Bottom line is, are you allowed to do business with treif? Based on this Gemara, let's go through the Gemara again. The Gemara says if you happen to trap treif animals, you're allowed to sell it, right? So the Gemara says, well, and the reason why it's mutar b'hanaah is because it says lochem. So the Gemara says if it says lochem, so it means it should be mutar for you to do a lechatchila to trap treif animals. So we say no, you paviyasan you. Only if you happen to trap it are you allowed to have it.
So if you have a net, you're going fishing and you catch treif fish along with
that would be, then you're allowed to sell it. But it's
otherwise it's going to happen, right? What are the chances?
How do they get the tuna? The tuna, they don't just go out tuna fishing.
Well, yeah. So they
bring in all the fishermen, bring in all the fish.
Right. That's true.
So
right.
the deep sea fish.
Question though: a Jew can't own a bait shop.
Correct. Don't tell me you have a side bait shop.
No, out of everything that I do on the side, a bait shop is not one of them.
Okay, so let's keep it that way. Yeah. So 1 second.
Deep sea fishing, where your main goal is to catch fish that are not kosher. What would be you shouldn't be doing that? Similar to almost like
The OU gives a hashgacha on tuna fish. Do they catch it together with other fish? It's not just a Jewish boat.
Right.
No, but he's saying when you go private fishing, you take
some
out a
people
boat
go for sport.
Yeah,
Right.
I understand what he's saying, but I'm just saying if you say you can't have can you do business like that or not?
So the answer is
I'm asking
halach
about
is very.
sport.
No, sport l'chayra. I don't know. I'm not
L'chayra
sure
not,
what to do.
because
But you
they're
stuff
not
it. You put
going
it
to
in your.
fish for
You put it
tuna.
You put it in your living room. You stuff it. You put it in the living room.
I don't know. I'm
Fish.
not
Exactly
sure.
what
It's
I'm
a good
talking
Akiva.
about.
It's a good question. I don't know if sport. I mean, that's a machlokes because I'm saving either whether you're
Is that?
allowed
I
to
was going to ask. Is that if forgetting the night to be Yehuda for a second? Would that be?
right.
Would that be a separate
So-
issue on shkatim or masim?
Yeah, and a hanami. So now, so that's the big nakuda here, and it's an important nakuda that to know that from this Gemara is how we know, and it's a Mishnah in Shvius. Also, that's how we know that you're not allowed to do business with treif, even if you're not eating it. You're not allowed to do business with treif. Now, here's the thing: is it an issur d'oraisa or an issur d'Rabanan? It makes a big nafkamina. Right, so from our Gemara, it says, "Yiyu b'aviyasan yihu." Only if you happen to get treif are you allowed to sell it, right? But if it's not, but for you to go out lechatchila to carry treif, then it's assur. That's what the Gemara is saying, right? So then the question is like this. So look at the Tosfos Amar Kro, the second to bottom, second Tosfos from the bottom, right? So Tosfos says Amar Kro Yiyu b'aviyasan yihu. By the way, I have just watch out because I happen to be learning the Sugin Yeshiva Akwi Kol in the morning, so I'm holding slightly in this one. But I'm not going to push it on to the oil. But it just happens to be that this is mamish. We're mamish learning this Sugya. So the Gemara, so Taisa says, clearly there were people that used to handle and they used to sell horses and chamayrim. So how do we do that? So Yesh Leimer, Taisa's answers the b'midi da achila mayri. When our Gemara is answering only things that are edible, things that people eat, right? Meaning, what Taisus is saying is that this whole gezerah, well, it's not a gezerah, well, that's going to be part of the problem, but what Taisus is saying that this is not a issur to do business with trade, right? It's a chashash that you might eat it. If you're going to go. If you're going to have a tray for restaurant, right? Then we're afraid. What do you do in a restaurant? So you go and you go. You might eat some of the food, right? So that's what the chashash is. But if it's something that you wouldn't normally eat, like horses and chamarim, then it would be okay, right? That's what Tosfos is saying. Yeah. Now the problem is so and also Shulchan Aruch paskins like this Tosfos and Shulchan Aruch paskins that you're allowed to do business with foods if you don't eat it. If it's not food that's what is that? If it's food that's not, if it's not something that you don't normally eat, then the Shulchan Aruch paskins that it's mutter to eat. To which the Taz asks, how can you be matter if it's a beferish a pasuk d'oraisa in the Torah that says that you're not allowed to, you're only if you happen to trap it are you allowed to sell, you're not allowed to go lechatchila. So how do you start being differentiating between oichel and not oichel? Now you're saying what the Torah, now you're limiting what you're saying something the Torah seems to assur, and then you're saying because of the reason, you're saying a reason the Torah assur because you might eat it, in which case foods, animals that you don't normally eat, you're allowed to do business. So that's the Taz's kasha. How can you say that? What do you want to say?
I was just going to say, for Dyrus, you didn't trade it in skins, furs and skins.
Right, so that's the shot is because we're going with this, that it's not something that you eat. The Taz asked this kasha. The Taz's teretz is fascinating. The Taz he says the Taz that the Torah gave the Rabanan permission, sort of like Chol HaMoed. For those that hold Chol HaMoed d'oraisa, they gave the Chachamar permission to decide what's assur, what's mutter. So the same thing here, they gave the Chachamim the rights to decide what you're allowed to do the business in and what you're not allowed to do the business in. But then he says, but the Chachamim can never assur something that the Torah matters, right? Because why? Because what we learned yesterday or 2 days ago, that nevela and treifa you're allowed to sell, right? Right? Achila, right? We're going to have it on Amud Beis again. So the Gemara there, the Torah says beferish that you're allowed to sell treif and nevela to goyim. So therefore, the Chachamim can't come and assur that, but they can assur other things. Okay, what's the practical? The practical is, can you trade stocks in McDonald's? It's achila, right?
But not for you.
What do you mean? But
That, right?
if it goes under the gezerah of not doing business with food, so then what about one example is trading stocks. Another example is stam. If you're what do you call it? Not an agent, broker.
Buyer? Broker.
A broker, right? If you're a broker, you do odd and odd lots and whatever it is. And
I remember
odd lot,
my father asking that Shiloh with Blimpie when I was a kid. And I think
Blimpie for the stock.
Blimpie, the restaurant, for the stock, yeah.
Yeah.
I think his stock was that he could.
Right. Could we sell the building that they're in? We do a lot of
Is that
those.
the right answer?
That is the right answer. But what are you saying, Yossi?
How about the building? We do that a lot. We sell the buildings. We sell all these like just McDonald's and just Kentucky Fried Chicken.
You're not doing the business. You're just renting them. You're just renting them the property or selling them the property.
Selling the building, yeah, but it's only worth something because they're there. People are buying it because they like the tenant, right?
Right, that's true. But I think it's just, listen, I would love to live in a building with a McDonald's. That would be bad news for my diet, but it would be, but that's not handling directly with the food, right?
Right.
So Yaakov, Lagabi this. What about treif? About cheese? Is that considered treif? And Lagabi this.
So now there's a few interesting shilas that come
because
up.
I just thought it.
Yeah, what
Or
about
a
Bishul
steakhouse, or a steakhouse that's like nationally, franchised.
I'm not asking for steak. I'm not asking treifs. I'm asking
No, but I am because I know
But
of one.
I asked cheese first.
What is it? 1 second.
That's fair. You
Wait, can we
first.
get back to the stock? Can we get back to the stock in McDonald's?
Hold on 1 second. Let's go.
You got to
through it.
wait 6 hours between the cheese and the meat.
Very good. Uri, I don't understand. What are you asking, Uri?
I said I know of a nationally like a national chain of steakhouses. It's not kosher, but they're owned by Yidden.
Is that so?
Yeah.
Woo.
Very well known, very high end.
That's pretty. I don't know. That's a tough one.
I didn't say they're
Unless
from
they
Yidden.
don't-
I just said they're Yidden.
Okay, so that would answer it. That's the kasha and the
So that was
taras.
my question is Tom, is it,
Yeah, so Peter Luger's is Jews. We know that.
Thank you. That's what I was talking about. I wasn't going to know when you did it.
The Yediyas over here are gewaldig. The Yediyas are gewaldig.
I know the family. That's why I know the family. That's why I asked.
The only thing is maybe if they're not hands-on involved, then I don't know. No, so Rabanan, yes, about cheese.
She's there every time we go to that restaurant. She's sitting.
What about Bishalakum,
No,
Can you own a restaurant?
I'll tell you cheese, very pushing. Before I got married, I worked for a summer in the smoked cheese factory, right? Owned by Fruma Eden. They had different sets of ovens that smoked the cheese. One was for Chalav Yisrael cheese, for Olam's cheese. One was for Miller's cheese, and one was for treif cheese.
Taka?
Yeah.
Here.
I was totally separate, but he got in treif cheese and he provided a service.
Which one tasted the best?
He never owned the cheese. It depends if
maybe
he never owned the cheese, but he gets paid for his service for providing the smoke.
I don't know. That sounds schwer. So the place.
Why? But I thought cheese can only be made from a kosher animal. It just doesn't have a hechsher.
No,
but there's a gezerah d'Rabanan against it. There's a gezerah d'Rabanan against gvina sako. Even if it can be made, that's a different. We can't go into the whole sugi now. It's a whole long thing. But there's 2 stages. There's whether you chayshid that the chalav stam in the cheese is an issue, but then that's assuming that you could take unsupervised milk, and as long as the cheese is made by a yid, meaning the rennet or whatever is going to make the cheese curdle, that has to be done by a yid. If it's not done by a yid, that's a separate gezerah having nothing to do with whether the milk is chal yisrael or not. Whatever it is, so it's a gezerah d'Rabanans that's what the poskim declare whether that's assur, right? And then another interesting thing, what about vegetables that have bugs in them? We're not going to get sidetracked now with the bug situation, but let's say you broccoli, right? So everybody claims broccoli is fully infested. Can you sell broccoli with bugs in it? It's not. It's a machlokes poskim in Shulchan Aruch, not in Shulchan Aruch, in the Mefarshim on Shulchan Aruch say, if you know that you have an infested, if something's infested, some say you're not allowed to sell those vegetables because it has bugs in it. It's assur. It's also others say no, that it's the vegetables are mutter. It happens to have bugs in it. That's not what you're selling. You're selling vegetables. Right?
Isn't broccoli itself one of the shmeina shratzim?
What? You mean? Yeah, I could hear. I could do that for a male. That would probably be under the category of shmeina shratzim. But yes. But anyway, so So okay, we can go back. Also stocks. So the heter for stocks is because based on this Tosfos, that it's only something that you eat. So stocks you don't usually eat, meaning you have no controlling interest. You can't walk into a McDonald's and tell them, by the way, I own 100 shares of your stocks. They hand me over a hamburger. They'll throw you out of there or they'll arrest you, right? Whatever, meaning you have no shaykhs. So the same way that you're allowed to sell horses and chamorim and dunk, whatever it is, because that's not normally eaten. So stocks is the same thing. It's not something that you normally eat. Besides that, there are some places that say stocks is stock gambling that has nothing to do with ownership. But but based on this Tosfos, that's the heter for the stocks because you don't come to eat it. Same thing with can you buy on eBay, right? Whatever, buy on Amazon a trade thing and then flip it, right? So then now also issur de Rabanan, we also paskin. They didn't make this gezer in issur de Rabanan. So that's another reason why the cheese and
can you sell on Amazon?
Okay, because of that.
Can you sell on Amazon something that's treif?
Listen, I'll tell you, it's better not to. If it's
You're trying to tell me all those people on Amazon, there's Jewish people on Amazon, they're not selling anything that's not kosher?
Listen, there's what to rely on. If you take delivery of it, then I don't know of a heter, unless the issur is a Rabanan issur, not a deraisa issur, right? But if you take possession, it's an issue. If you never take possession, then there's what to rely on because there's no chashash you're coming to eat it.
The back part of the cow that you were talking about 2 days ago.
Yeah.
What's that considered? Is that treif or is that kosher that you just can't eat?
Really, we're machmer. Really, you can eat it. We're just not exactly sure which parts are kosher, which one are not. So
and that's why it's okay. That's why it's mutter to sell off that part of the animal to wherever.
Well, the thing is like this: you have a pasuk that says nevela and treifa you're allowed to sell.
But if it's just the gid, I don't know if I mean, just in a person, it's the size of a finger. It's that thick.
Right. So what are you saying?
So why is it so? If the whole problem with the gid,
I don't know. That's a whole different. I don't know enough.
You're literally practically pulling a rope.
Right, but they don't know. No, but besides that, there's shuman, there's all sorts of stuff. Chaylev, shuman, which we're about to get to. But anyways, nevela and treifa taka, you would be allowed to sell, right? Because we said.
Right. I forgot that part. I'm sorry.
But no. But the problem is does that? That means if you happen to get a nevela and a treifa, right? That's the question. Or does that mean you could actually go handle with nevela treifa or not? Okay, whatever it is. That the sugya is right here. Okay, let's see what.
With the stocks. Are you allowed to go to the annual meetings?
Why not?
And vote on something, or you have to be just total?
Yeah, you have to eat it. You have to eat it when you're at the meeting.
I didn't say about eating. Come on, no, seriously. If
your vote is meaningless. Your vote is meaningless.
What about renting a rat-infested, bug-infested apartment? Is that assur too?
Or why are you asking me?
Don't be say whatever.
I'm not the ball boss.
Yeah. Wasn't there a svara with the stocks? I remember hearing somewhere that if I'm a relatively small stock owner, I can always say that my profits come from the buns, something which is kosher, not from the treif.
You say b'reira on that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know. Right? I mean, listen, Lamaisa, most places can say you don't have to sell your stocks before Pesach either. Right? Even though in the Mechiras chametz that I do, the Rabanan I do with, we do sell the stocks. even though it's totally illegal because you have to be from with SEC in order to sell stocks. So, okay, the kasha for the Maisa how they do that, but they do it.
That Din de Malchusa doesn't override that one?
I don't know. I think they're being silent that Lamaisa you don't have to really sell stocks anyways, because you mamish don't have any ownership in that. Because if you would have to sell stock, then it doesn't make a difference. Every company owns chametz. Every company has a cafeteria.
Why doesn't
and so you'd have to sell all your stocks on any company every Pesach.
You wouldn't be worried that would invalidate the shtar entirely if you have something in there that you can never enforce?
They conformed it. They confirmed it with all sorts of lawyers and stuff that the shtar should work legally, and the lawyers said that it works. So, because the mechira works, out the Yiddishkeit it works to be able to sell the stocks that way. If the government has a thing, SEC, because they don't want shenanigans going on, it's okay. So that's yeah. All right. Anyways, fine. So let's see weiter. Okay, chametz. Now we're back to chametz. Varei chametz, around 12 lines up. Varei chametz, the Rachmana Amar lo yoichel chametz. Right? Chametz, it says you shouldn't eat chametz. That should mean it's also bhanaah. You should wonder on yourself. We're going to see this whole Gemara on about 8 blot from now. Hey, chametz also bhanaah kol shiva. How's chametz also bhanaah all shiva? Meaning Rabbi Yosef Glili holds that chametz is not also bhanaah. Right, so whatever it is, according to Yosef Galili, how can chametz not be also bhanaah? It says lo yoichel, don't eat it. So when I answer shani asam, don't makrov lo yirah lecha sa'ar. You shouldn't see sa'ar. Shalcha yehi. That means it's yours, meaning you're allowed to benefit from it. For Rabanan. What about the Rabanan who say we're going to go back and forth here, rapid fire? The Rabanan who say that chametz is also bhanaah. What do they do with the word lecha? Shalcha yataraya v'lataraya shalachim shel gavaya. You're allowed to see. Your chametz is not allowed to be seen, but you're allowed to see chametz that belongs to others and that belongs to the Beis Hamikdash or whatever it is. So Gemara says v'idach. How does Rabbi Yosef Glili know that you're allowed to see the chametz of others and of kavaya? Trei lechaksi, because it says it twice, as we know we had before. V'idach. What do the Rabbanan do? Chad b'nachi shekivashte v'chad b'nachi shelo kivashte. One is talking about that you're allowed to see the chametz of a guy who's under your control. And one is talking about, one lecha is talking about tell you that you're allowed to see the chametz of a guy who's not under your control. The idach. So again, the Gemara already asked before that it's backwards. It should be shaloi kivashta and kivashta, right? The idach, the other shita, Rabbi Yosef Glili, tlas lecha ksivi. It says 3 lechas. The idach, chad b'sa'ar. One is for leaven, chad b'chametz, and one's for chametz. V'tzrichin, you need all of them. Fine. Okay, so that's how we get out of that. Now the Gemara says, let's say that the Machlokes between Chizkiah and R Avahu, meaning as to whether the word lo yachal, not yachal, lo yachal, it's lo yachal, whatever any lashon of lo yachal doesn't, it means it's issur bhanaah or not. The R Avahu holds it means it's also bhanaah, and Chizkiah says not. So let's say it's like a Machlokes Tanoim, because it says yeyaseh l'chol malacha. Chelev, right, the fats of the animal are allowed to be, you're allowed to do that you're allowed to do your work with it. What does it mean that you can do with all your work? Also, you would think that maybe malacha for gavaya, for the Beis Hamikdash, for kachim, would be mutter, but malachas hedyet for your own malacha would be assur. For all malacha, that's what Rabbi Yosef Glili says. Now you would think that for malachas hedyet it would be considered tar, but for malachas gavaya it would be considered tamei, and you wouldn't be able to do anything with the Beis Hamikdash with these fats. Right, so you have a machlokes between Rabbi Yosef. Who are we talking about here? Right, Rabbi Yosef Glili and Rabbi Kiva, whether the yeyasa l'chol malacha by chelev, that you're allowed to do your work with the chelev, is that talking about for tumah and tara, or is it talking about for issur v'heter for eating? So Rabbi Yosef Glili with tumah and tara lo yitzrukra, he says you don't need a pasuk with tumah and tara, ki yitzrukra lo issur v'heter. You need the pasuk for issur v'heter, whether you're allowed to use the chelev or not. Rabbi Kiva, issur v'heter lo yitzrukra, issur v'heter doesn't need a pasuk, ki yitzrukra lo tumah v'tara. You need a pasuk for tumah and tahara. Fine. Now, okay, so what does this have to do with our machlokes? My love. Now we're on Talmud Beis. My love. This is the Machlokes. The Rabbi Yosef mashma bein issur achila bein issur hanaah. When it says the chaylev is not allowed to be eaten, so Rabbi Yosef learns that that's whether it's achila, whether it's hanaah. And when the pasuk's telling you it's coming to tell you the nevela b'hanahu da'asa, right? It's coming to be matayu nevela and hanaah. Rabbi Kiva savar issur achila mashma issur hanaah loy mashma no loy. When it says lo yochel by chaylev, it means only not allowed to be eaten, but benefiting it is allowed. And when's the pasuk coming to tell you? The pasuk is coming to tell you tum and tara, because you don't need the pasuk to tell you that it's mutter to benefit from chaylev, because we don't learn it out from the word lo yochel. Okay, so we're trying to say that the Machlokes Chizkiah and R Avahu is the same Machlokes as Rabbi Kiva and Rabbi Yosef Haglili, right? So then the Gemara says, the kuli alma lo soichlu mashma bein issur achila bein issur hanaah. Everybody holds lo soichlu as mashma, whether it's achila or whether it's hanaah, right? The Machlokes says Rabbi Yosef Haglili sava kishahutra nevela he hutra chelba v'gila lo yutra. When we had yesterday or 2 days ago that nevela is mutter, we said it's mutter and it's fats, and the gid is not mutter. And we need the pasuk to tell you hatar hanaah. Rabbi Kiva savar kishahutra nevela, when we matter nevela in the pasuk, right? Chelva v'gida nami hutra. They also allowed chelev and gidim. So now you don't need a pasuk, right? Because it already goes under the category of nevela, which we know is mutar b'hanaah. And you need the pasuk with tum and tara, right? But not that the Machlokes is. Again, the Havamina, we thought the Machlokes is whether achila is mashma issur hanaah also. And now we're saying, no, that's not. Everybody holds issur achila is not. Right? The Machlokes is, do we include chaylev as part of nevela? Right? If you hold that chaylev is part of nevela, so then you have an extra pasuk, because we know nevela is already mutar b'hanaah. If you learn that it's not nevela, it's not part of nevelas, then you need a pasuk. Right? So we see that the Torah matters chaylev b'hanaah ela gid nema da'asa. So, but maybe gid anasha should be assur. So yeah, maybe it is assur. Right? We learned yesterday there was a shita that holds that it's assur. No, we can say that it's mutar from a kavach chaylev. If you eat chaylev, if you eat the wrong fats of the animal, you get chorus. But it's mutar b'hanaah, so gid. So the gid hanasha she'ena onish chorus that doesn't have punishment chorus like koshikin, of course it should be fine. Reb Shimon to assur. Why
isn't this a kasha on Chizkiah? If the only way out to say this is not a Machlokes is to say they both agree that issur achila is mashma bein issur achila bein issur hanaah, and he has two tanoim against him.
Who understand? Who's saying that issur achila means issur achila and hanaah?
So the Gemara said, no?
What?
Bein issur hanaah.
Yeah, but I don't know if that means that that's the Gemara is really holding like. It's just saying they could be.
I mean, Chizkiah could say Rabbi Kiva holds like me.
Right. Yeah, that's what I would think. Shalos, why the Gemara doesn't say the other way? They can both hold. Right? It doesn't say that.
That's why I asked.
I hear.
Yeah.
I hear. Okay. So Reb Shimon the assur, right? We said Reb Shimon who holds that gid anash is assur equal to mifrach. What's he going to do with this kavach chaymer, right? We said yesterday Reb Shimon holds that gid anash is assur. So you can ask on that. Ma'al chaylev shekein hilter mechlole etzel chaya. No chaylev, right? Another confusing thing in Yiddishkeit, another halacha that's confusing. The chaylev of an animal, right, is mutter. Not an animal, I'm sorry. What do you call it? How do you touch a chaya? What do you say? Wild. A behemoth. I'm sorry.
Undomesticated.
Undomesticated. A behemoth, the chaylev is assur. A chaya, the chaylev is mutter. Right? Yeah. So meaning not it's mutter, but it's not what do you call it? It doesn't have the issur of chaylev. Malachev shekein hutam mechlala etzel chaya. I mean, no, it is mutter. A kosher chaya, it's mutter. Like a deer. Chaylev of a deer. why it has any chaylev, right? Is, well, I guess if a deer has chaylev, that's probably how it got caught, right? The deer don't have too much chaylev, it's not running too fast, right? So anyway, so chaylev of a deer is mutter, a chaylev of a cow is assur. So it's what's saying, so you can't bring any kal v'chomer from chaylev because it has a kula. Tamar begid shalai hutu mechlali etzachaya. By gid, there's no heter for it. The gid anash is assur sayin chaya sayin behema. Okay, so v'idach, what's the other man that I'm going to do? Behema kamrina and behema mias lo yishtri. We're talking about a behema, and by a behema it's not mutter. So don't bring chaya into this. Okay, that's the end right now of all the kashas back and forth on R Avahu. Now we get to the practical, which we're going to see is not so practical. But michti asvinu kol hani kroi v'shaninu. We asked all these kashas. Well, what do you come up with? Around 10, 11. I didn't count. 10, 11 different areas of issur achila. Right, we asked them and we answered all of them. Chizkiah, bottom line is, what's the Machlokes between Chizkiah and Avahu? Chametz pesach, Rabanan. It's chametz and pesach according to Rabanan, who hold that chametz and pesach is assur bhanaah. And shor haniskal, and a shor haniskal according to everybody, meaning both of those are assur bhanaah. It's just a matter of how you learn. Meaning everything else they agree is mutter bhanaah. Right, so there's no machlokes in Avahu and Chizkiyah. So what's the machlokes? It's just how you know chametz is assur bhanaah and how you know shor haniskal is assur bhanaah. Right, that's where the machlokes is. Yeah, because it said whenever it says the word yei achel, that tells you assur hanaah. From Avahu nafikle min nevela, and Avahu learns it out from nevela. Meaning we're learning out from Nevel to everything else. So then michti, bein lamar, assur bhanaah. They both hold that it's assur bhanaah. So my beinayu. Bottom line is, what is the right? Every machlokes has to have a practical difference. Good. So they disagree how you learn out that chametz is assur bhanaah and how shor haniskal is assur bhanaah. But what's the practical halachic difference between whether you hold like Chizkiah or Avahu? Right? Meaning when you're sitting by the kiddush, the mitzvah of kiddush, right? You're sitting by kiddush, you're arguing that your rabbi holds this way, and the other guy says, no, my rav holds this way. The bottom line is in this machlokes, what is the machlokes? What's the practical difference between Avahu and Chizkiah? Chulin, right, which is a regular plain animal that you plan on eating for supper that night, and you decided to shecht it in the Beis Hamikdash, right? So chulin shenesh mazara Chizkiah savar lo yeyachal lemutei hani. It says loyachal comes to exclude these. And the word oisai comes to exclude chulin shenesh azara. And oisai comes to exclude these two cases. Chulin shenesh azara lav doiraisa. And Avahu holds that chulin shenesh azara is not a doiraisa. So basically, the machlokes is what's the story with chulin shenesh azara. Right, that's it. That's mamish the machlokes. Fine. So that's end of the sugya. Well, not really end of the sugya between the machlokes and Avahu and Chizkiah. Fine. Then we say Yosef, who will start this Gemara, and then we'll stop in the middle of it because it's too long. It goes way down, halfway down the next number. Yosef Umar Rabanan kamedu the Rav Shmuel bar Nachmani. Rabanan was sitting in front of Rav Shmuel bar Nachmani. But Yosef Kamar Mishmedu Rabbi Shua ben Levi, and he said in the name of Yeshua ben Levi. How do you know that all issur and Shabbat Torah? Guys, just hold off from jamming for like 5 minutes, please. Thank you. Because it's about, if you think it's bedtime in this house, it ain't. Okay, if you were seeing who just came marching in. All right, so anyways, so right? How do we know that any time there's an issur in the Torah that just like it's also achila, it's also bhanaah? Umayniu. Chametz and pesach and shor haniskal. How do we know that chametz and pesach and shor haniskal is assur bhanaah? Right? So Gemara says minayin. Gemara says minayin. You're asking after these last two blot of discussing this whole thing. That's what you have. We just came up with two reasons why. Minayin, right? The one word question. Typically, issur achila mashmalei, issur anolei mashmalei. Starting out from le'yachal, so the answer is no. That he holds le'yachal is not mashma. Hanaah, it's just mashma achila. Typically, nevela, learn it out from nevela the way Rabbi learns it out from, right? That the Torah had to tell you that nevela is mutter. Savalak Rabbi Yehuda, Damar Devarim Kichsavan. He holds a Rabbi Yehuda that says no. The reason why the Torah was telling you about nevela was just to tell you that you give it to a ger and you sell it to a guy. You don't swap them. Right? So Savalak Rabbi Yehuda, Tevik Lemehechad Denafkel Rabbi Yehuda. So if that's the case, then he should learn it out from Rabbi Yehuda learns out. This is going back to what? That from where is that? From you can give it to a kelev. So right? So he holds no, he can't learn out from that because he holds chulin that's and nazara is a deraisa. So therefore you can't learn out from that. So basically he does not he goes through all three opinions and he holds the opposite in each case. He learns only means achila not hanaah. And you want to learn it out from nevela. He says, no, I don't have a pasuk by nevela because nevela is not telling me that it's mutter b'hanaah. It's telling me the order that you have to sell it give it to a ger, sell it to a guy. Oh, and you're gonna hold like from Shreifa that it says oisoi, right? That he said I can't go there because he holds chul shenesh v'dubazara is daraisa. So therefore he has no idea how to say that chametz is assur b'hanaah and shor haniskal is assur b'hanaah. So that starts right here, Minayin. So we'll take that up. Tomorrow,
Where is what we never saw a sheet before that said Le'echel is not mashma. I know also. Where does he? What's his shot in that? Like before, everyone agreed Le'echel
is mashma, right?
Right. It's mashma b'yesod that it means you should have no benefit from it either. Where's he coming from?
I don't know.
I'm just saying the Lushan seems to be masha that way. It's not just like the way I understood it was that they both agreed that this is pasha, just the pshitas of the. There's no machlokes regarding that word because that's so clear means even hanaah. That's the way I always understood it.
And Hanami, but right, so he I guess he has. I guess he has the right to be chaylik on that rule.
So I'm just asking, what's pshat in that?
Well, see, I don't really understand. I don't really understand why lo ye'achel is mashma hanaah. I mean, I understand that that's what it's saying, but I don't really understand why ye'achel is mashma. Rashi says it's mashma lo yehei by heter maybe lidei shum achila, right? But every hanaah is going to lead to an achila at some point. So, but I don't know. I don't understand that shita enough to understand how why they can't be chaylik, why they could be chaylik. I think I don't know. Clearly, Gemara is learning that they could be chaylik. Anyways, all right.
Who's the guy that you're selling the chametz with the stocks to? I'm just asking for somebody else that I know. Just curious.
What's the name of the guy that I sell it to?
I'm saying you sell the guy with the stock options and all that stuff. Like who is that?
Let me just tell you something. The guy who's buying our chametz, he don't know a stock option from a McDonald's hamburger.
That makes the business opportunity even better.
Correct. But he doesn't know anything.
I mean, you're saying there are posting that say it's okay to keep the stock. So I'll just like swoop in, you know?
If someone owns options, do they sell the options also?
You don't have to sell for sure. Not options is still a financial device. You have no ownership in it. It's only chal once the option kicks in.
So let's say you have an option for McDonald's. Can you exercise the option on Chol Pesach?
You can, because we're saying, well, you what about doing malach on Chol Hamoed? You're not going with that. Okay.
It's a really good option, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a dover ovid, whatever. It's not, you can, because we're saying that the stock is fine. The stock is fine.
I'm saying, but it would be included then if you exercise the option. The stock would be retroactively be included in your mechira.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to work. Well, let's say the guy Taka has a uri. Let's say the guy Taka smart, the guy, and he says, okay, give me a list because we're selling some pretty wealthy dudes chametz, which I'm sure there's a lot of. I mean, the mechira I'm doing has got most of flappish. Right,
so you're getting a lot of stock options over there.
Right,
so yeah, correct. If he was smart, he would go in and he would sell them all.
Correct. He would say, "What do you mean? I bought it at 20, and now at the end of Pesach it's at 25. I don't want to sell it back to you."
Right. That's what he should do.
I don't know.
Uri's going to start a new career in advising chametz buyers.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Listen, there's a sheet that says it's mutter. I can keep it. What's the difference?
100%. The only thing it's interesting because really, what happens if you own a nursing home? What do you do with that? So we sell it to them, right? But now you sold the guy. So that means whatever money you're making on the patients over Pesach, you have to give it. Right. So one of the guys on this daf used to, well, he's not here now. Okay. Used to have candy machines. I don't know if he still does. Ich weiß nicht. Right? And he could not close down these candy machines. I don't know where they were. In public places. You can't close down the candy machine. So what do? So you sell the guy the candy machine. How do you go then take the profit of the chametz candy that was there a whole Pesach?
But that's the same way.
The profit that time.
Yeah, the guy has to take. The guy gets the profit.
Wouldn't that be the same as any business open on Shabbos that you were selling whatever profit you're getting on Shabbos to the guy?
Yeah, it's worth it
It works the
enough.
same.
Can the guy have his machines restocked on Pesach?
Doesn't make a difference. He's not getting any of the profit. It's the guy
But
doing
he
it.
is. That's the problem.
He's not. He's not. He's getting the profit after Pesach when he continues his business.
He has to make the cheshbon though, but nobody does it. That's what I'm saying.
But I'm saying is all these people that do this shtick, it's because if they shut down, they might lose business after Pesach. So they keep it going.
Correct,
Just for the
but
fact
that
to keep
money-
it going. Just for the fact to keep it going.
Thank you for asking. But
To
yeah,
have
that's,
continuity, you know?
that's true. But the bottom line is most people don't end up giving that money to the guy. So
then they're not doing it the right way, no?
No kidding. So what I'm saying, every business that's open on Shabbos, all these nursing homes and all that, they want to do it legit.
But my understanding is they get all the profits from those days.
There is nobody, okay? Mark my words. There is not one of these wealthy dudes who owns nursing homes all over, who knows how much, is giving 1/7 of his profit to a guy. All right. If you find that guy, then you let me know. All right.
So why isn't the mechira?
Yeah, he gets the next Chadash at the CMS shop.
No, probably not, because he's not going to be the wealthy one because he's losing 1/7 of his business.
Why? How come doing that mechira is not lifnei iver? Then you should tell him you should make him sign the mechira that he's going to give away his money.
Which guy? I don't sell nursing homes. I try not to sell nursing homes in my mechira. I say go to the rabbi who set you up for the tray for kitchen or for Shabbos, and you should do the mechira with them. That's why I
It's
try.
all a bunch of baloney. The
No,
setup for Shabbos.
1 second. I don't want to
and
be
all
malshin
that.
on 1 second. Chas v'shalom. I don't want to be malshin on all these people. You can structure it the way
And
you.
how?
The most legit would be you give 1/7 to the guy.
Correct.
Fine. But let's say you structure it where you tell the guy, listen, I have no idea if I'm going to make money on Saturdays or not. In lieu of your profits for Saturdays, I'm going to give you $1,000 a year. In lieu of your profits, you're guaranteed $1,000 a year, even if my nursing home burns down, right? And the guy says, in lieu of that, I'll take that as my Shabbos profits and whatever ends up coming in. That's the way they structure it, which is okay. I'm not saying that that's not okay. I'm saying the guys that do it and they just give the guy $5.
Yeah, but if the guy really doesn't want to do that, then I'm saying it's really.
No, the truth be told, no, 1 second. If the nursing home loses money, then the guy takes 1/7 loss too, right?
Hey,
let's say the nursing home loses $1 million in the year. That means the guy is on the hook for $1.2 million, right? He doesn't want that either. So he's willing to take it.
We shift all our losses to Shabbos.
Of course. There you go. Now you're talking.
This is what I've been missing out. We should have a financial class right now.
Yeah, listen.
Yuri, you get therapy on Shabbos, Yuri.
Oh, really? That's what we do. That's what we do therapy.
That's the best time. That's the best time.
Yeah. Let me tell you.
I think even the bill from Bergstrom with the tray for food probably also has. I think it's backloaded on Shabbos.
What are you gonna do?
No, whatever we bought on
Ellie, I
Shabbos,
love your background.
the week anyways.
Where'd you get that from?
I don't know. I kept on getting sick of seeing my dirty office over here, so I said, let me look up, and this came up. I was like, perfect.
That was your office? I thought you were sitting in like a random room in your house.
That is a random room in my house, my office. I don't get much over here.
Rabbi, are you having a shachris tomorrow, or your kids are back in yeshiva?
They're back in yeshiva.
Mikey, look online. Zoom background.
Oh, your kids don't have yeshiva, right?
Well, one of them doesn't. That's what I'm
Correct,
asking.
Yeah.
But the new baby doesn't have.
Well, Darche, I heard shut down. I heard Darche shut down.
Darche 5th to 8th.
Fifth to 8th shut down. Yeah.
Parrots, you can kill the recording now, by the way. Not because we're hiding anything. Just